We are getting ready to start our 6th year of homeschool, and in today's video I'm going to walk you through how I prep my planner so I can really get the most out of it and set us up for a successful school year. I hope you find this video helpful. It's going to be a long one. I tried to cover it all, but if I did miss anything, feel free to ask me down below in the comments. Before we get started, I do have to say, do not chain yourself up to your plans, okay? Things are going to happen, are going to interfere. Things will happen, which will cause you to push other things to back burner for a little bit. Nothing is set in stone. Give yourself some grace. This way of prepping my planner is what has been the most helpful to really just know where we're at during the school year. It's really easy for me to pick up and see exactly where we're at and what needs to get done for us to get the ball rolling again. You can find my planner along with other resources over on my Etsy shop. All the cover pages have been updated for the new school year. So the first thing that I like to do is just figure out my dates. So I went ahead and filled out this year at a glance. When choosing your start date, you can either go along with your school district or not. Usually we start the first week of August, but this year we have a couple of things going on. So we are going to hold off and start mid-August this school year. I like to color code my year at a glance, and I use these Pilot Friction highlighters. The colors are a little off because my boys have been getting into it using them just like markers, but I do color code for holidays, birthdays, break, and if we're gonna go on an actual vacation, we're gonna travel or something. So I have a different color for each one of those categories, and right now I will go ahead and just highlight the dates that I just have on top of my mind with the corresponding colors. So for holidays, I will go ahead and just mark all of them. I usually use obviously my phone for this or my personal planner, but I do record on my phone, so I didn't have that handy. So I will just show you kind of what I do. There's only 2 for sure breaks that I know we're going to be taking. Usually we take a break off during Christmas and then another one during Thanksgiving. Now I don't take a whole 2 weeks off during December because my husband does go back to work, so we really don't have many plans during that time. So I will go ahead and just mark off that week, and then I move on, marking down any birthdays and other holidays. I've decided on my start date, and now to figure out when we would be wrapping up for school is I'm just literally going to count 180 days because that's what you need, 180 days. And I know for a fact that we will be taking more than 2 breaks this school year. So I am going to skip a couple weeks while I'm counting. And also I am going to skip several Fridays because that's my husband's day off from work, and we like to spend it with him when he's home. So I'm going to skip those days along with a couple of weeks to give myself some wiggle room and a better idea of when we will be done. Next, I have this other year at a glance, but serves more as a brain dump. Here, I jot down anything that I know of right now that is going to be happening during these months. So again, we have a couple things going on in August. Then the boys start soccer in September. If there's any birthdays, I'm going to fill those in right now. And then this will be a reference for when I am planning for the next month. I can refer to this and see what is going on, what do I need to add to my calendar. Also, if you have any study units that you want to get done on specific months, like for a holiday, if you're going to do a unit study on Halloween, on St. Patrick's Day, on Easter. For example, last year during election year, I had a unit study that I knew I wanted to get through, and I knew I had to make time and room for it. So I was going to be taking a break off our history curriculum to get this unit study in there instead. So I planned for it to be done between September and October so that when elections did come in November, we were prepped, we were done with it, and just ready to track all the voting stuff. There's times, as homeschool moms, that you see something, maybe we can do this next school year or whatever, and then next school year comes, you have your curriculum, and then you forget about it because it's been in your shelf or put away for the last few months. So this has really helped me get through my stash of stuff that I accumulate through the previous school year. Next, I literally just list the curricula that we are using for each student. My favorite pens to use are these Papermate Inkjoy. I also really like the Sharpie pens, and I will link everything down below for you to check out. So I use this page to track everything that we use during the year. If we use it, it's going here. And then I also have a section here to show if we used it in the first semester or the second semester. And then at the end of the school year, this, I just rip it out, put it in a sheet protector, and add it to their portfolio just for record keeping. My state does not require it, but I do keep a portfolio, and I will show you how I put that together in a separate video. So I have a couple of these pages for each child, just, you know, in case we use other stuff. And then each child also has this extracurricular sheet here, which anything that they do outside of the school goes here. Any sports, any club, any volunteering, all that stuff is going to go in here. I think this is perfect, especially for like middle schoolers and high schoolers who are doing more volunteer work and things like that, to add to their portfolio. So I have one for each child. And then I have this login info and memberships spreadsheet. If you have any online curriculum or lessons that you have, I added here. If you are paying for any memberships, I also added here with the password, all the information that I need. And the boys also know where it's at for their passwords. And this field trip log, which obviously will get filled throughout the school year. Some of these pages are there to be filled out throughout rather than just right now. So I have that, and then my year at a glance, and then I move on to my attendance. Now, obviously, I'm not taking attendance, but I am prepping it for the spreadsheet to be ready for when it is time to get started with school. So we start in August, and I will go ahead and just label these columns by the month, prep it for how many days are in each month. So I just cross off all the extra days for those months that have only 30 days, cross off all the weekends, and each child has their own attendance sheet, which also goes in their portfolio at the end of the school year. Okay, and here comes the fun part, because I like to see my whole year in lessons, everything that's going to be covered in their curriculum at a glance. Here it is in all of its glory. This is a way of mapping our school year. So if you've purchased any of my planners, this page usually comes vertical. I just made this horizontal. I divide this by week, and then up on top is the subject. These two are for my rising second grader, and then the rest of the subjects are across here. I do not include the page a day ones like spelling or handwriting. That doesn't get covered here, but everything else. So I just open up the curriculum, grab the scope and sequence, the table of contents, whatever it comes with, and I am literally just copying it here. This is the history curriculum that we will be using. It is History Quest. We are doing the middle times, and this curriculum is organized for which each lesson takes a week to get through. So I am just adding these lessons onto each little square here for each week. Then I mentioned these two columns are for my rising second grader. We are going to be using literature, something lit and composition. It also includes grammar. So I broke it down by the book that we are going to be reading that week, and then what grammar will be covered that week, and then geography, writing, history, science, and art. Now, if you are not going to be using any curriculum like this, that you get the list of the lessons, you can make your own. I think I've mentioned this before when putting together like a curriculum for my kindergartner a few years back, but so I haven't found a science curriculum that I really enjoy. So this year we are using this Everything You Need to Know About Science little textbook thing here. Now use at your own discretion, because this is for middle school age kids. But here we have the table of contents, everything that is covered in this book, and I am just pulling from this and creating little unit studies for the whole year for science. Now this is kind of like my spine, but then I pull resources from all over the internet and different books to put a mini unit study together. There's a lot of stuff on Teachers Pay Teachers that cover a lot of these things. There's a lot of YouTube videos. There's a lot of books from the library that we use to cover our unit study. So this year we're using this, but in a previous video I've shared how I use this Junior Pictionary, and again you can just look through it, use it as your spine, grab whatever you want from this. There's also other resources you can use. I've used this first grade, what your first grader needs to know. This is more of like a textbook, and this fizzled out real quick, but I know they have these available for different grades, and they can come in really handy if you are putting your own curriculum together. I do this only for science because I have not found one that we all enjoy. And if you want a little peace of mind that you're covering everything that your child needs to know, this is another cool little resource. It breaks it down by grade and then by subject. It also has a bunch of different suggestions and references for online, for books to read to your kids, different things that you can use for different subjects. So it is just a great resource to have on hand if you're looking for anything specific when creating these mini unit studies, or if you're looking to just add to the curriculum that you are using already. For these big fat notebooks, they also have American history, world history, language arts. They have a bunch of different subjects to use, and they're all broken down the same way. I feel like we can honestly use this even for history. And even if you're not going to be using these as your spine, like to make your own mini unit studies, I think these are a great resource to have, to flip through, to have your kids, really dive into different subjects. So that is how I fill these pages up. If that made any sense, if you have any questions, let me know. Next is my lesson tracker. This is probably my favorite section in my whole planner because it comes in so handy. So all of these workbooks usually come with some sort of scope and sequence or like amount of lessons, and I just write all those lessons in here. So this one, spelling one, has 30 lessons, so I'm just going to write 1 to 30, and as the lessons get done, these are just checked off. And this has been a game changer to just really know where you are at with every curriculum. And it is easy to notice when you are neglecting a certain subject. Now, some subjects are going to be a little more complicated the way they're broken up. Like, for example, this one is broken into chapters, and then each one is like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. For that chapter. It is up to you if you want to break it up like that, like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and then 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, or if you just want to break it up by chapter, that'll be up to you. And then obviously some of them are going to be so many lessons that you're not going to want to break it up like that. It's like one sheet a day pretty much. So we are not doing that. I am breaking this up by chapters, and then I'm just going to do that with every curriculum, our spelling, our language arts, our writing, and like I said, just go off checking this off, and then without having to bring any workbook out, you'll know exactly where you are with each curriculum. So I have a bunch of those pages there for each student, and then I have a list of books to read. For my rising second grader, I already have this list here, but for my rising fifth grader, some of these are going to be novel studies where he's actually going to be doing worksheets on these. Some of them are going to be read alouds that will be read together. Check them off as we go. There's also a little note column there. If I need to put a hold on it at the library, if I need to buy it, if I need to look for it. And then I also have a reading log to track their reading. He does have a reading journal, which he tracks himself. So I have these extras here. And then on to our monthly, it's just a blank 2-page monthly grid. And for this, I just refer to my year at a glance so I can fill out any important dates. Now, I don't have any weekly plans ready yet, so I'm just going to show you how I prep my weekly layouts so you see how I get the most out of this layout. Now, when you do purchase my planners online, they each include various layouts for you to choose from so you can mix and match, but this layout really worked best for me last school year, so I'm going to stick to it. This top row here is labeled this week, and it includes anything that is going on for that day, any doctor's appointment, any soccer practice, we're visiting grandma, any library trips. It all goes there so that I know on the day that we're going to go visit grandma, we're not going to have a full day of lessons. So after I have my big stuff planned out on the top, then I go ahead and divide the lessons by each child. I have a section for my oldest, then for my middle child, and then the bottom is for group. So they're both going to be doing the same stuff, like for science and history. And then the bottom usually is for like, what are we going to have for dinner. That row will soon be taken over by my toddler because I do have a toddler running around, so it's great for even bigger families. And then I also added a couple pages of this unit study planning thing. I just kind of gather my stuff. Here's where I plan out all the things that I'm going to be needing for the mini units. How I would want to break up the lessons. For example, if we are doing a unit study on the solar system, am I going to break it up by a week all about the sun, a week all about Mars, a week all about planet Earth? Like, how do I want to break this up? Is each planet going to get a specific all about this planet week sort of thing, or am I just going to pick a couple planets and make, planet Earth one of them, and then dive into planet Earth for the next 2 weeks? So it's all just kind of planning it all out, gathering all the books and videos and crafts, activities that I want to do with it. If there's any places I want to visit. So that will be all in here. My planner is ready for the next school year. Let me know if you have any questions. You got a little glimpse of what we're going to be using during the school year, but in a separate video, I will share what we're going to be using for each of my kids. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on those videos coming up. That is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.